After this video, I don't want to see any of you ever run these heroes again.
Been slain.
Hello my friends! Welcome back to the second episode of the Make All Heroes Cry series. Today we cover the Epical Glory Nightmares. Before we start, tell me which hero you wanna see crying next. And based on the comments I will make another poll where we decide which group we will cover next. Let's start first with the Akatsuki gang member, Hanzo. Hanzo is one of the most OP heroes in Mobile Legends. He can easily fight solo against Hayabusa, Kagura and Hanabi at the same time. So it's no surprise that Hanzo is getting banned so often. I hope you get this sarcasm. I get it. He can eat up your jungle creeps, which can be annoying, and chase you no matter where you go, even inside of your turrets. Still, it is so easy to counter him if you know how. Like in the last episode, let's take a look at his skills first, because you need to know how a hero works before you can actually counter them effectively. Passive. Each eliminated unit nearby gives Hanzo Demon Blood. Non-heroes give him 2 Demon Blood, while heroes give him 20. First skill. He eats up any jungle creep or minion and devours it over time. It has a pretty short range, so try to keep him away from your buffs. To the turtle or lord he deals true damage. Second skill. Hanzo summons demon spikes, dealing damage and slows the enemies that have been hit. Each hit grants him 1 demon blood. Ultimate. Hanzo turns into his demon form. He can move through walls, gains extra movement and attack speed, but also has reduced physical and magic defense. He consumes 10 demon blood per second, and once you have no blood left, his main body will be dragged to his demon form. So whenever you fight against Hanzo, make sure to check how much demon blood he has left. This tells you how long he will be able to stay in the fight. And my voice just broke. Perfect. If the demon form is killed, it will return to Hanzo's body, stunning him for 3 seconds, weakening him for 8 seconds, and his main body will be revealed to the enemies. He can use the ult again to go back to his main body or teleport his main body to his demon body's location. Killing his real body will destroy the demon body as well. 2 facts about his real body. Firstly, even when he hides inside of a turret, you can attack his real body without triggering the aggro from it. So when there are minions in the turret, you can safely attack him. And secondly, there is a trail that leads to Hanzo's body. So whenever he is attacking any of your allies, just pan around the map to check where his body is hiding. He will sit most likely in a turret, or if you're lucky, he's just hiding in a bush. Now to his skills and his demon form. First skill. After 5 basic attacks, Hanzo unlocks the ability to lunge forward. In addition to his normal damage, he deals 15 to 25% of the target's max HP as physical damage, and knocking them airborne. He also gains demon blood in the process, extending his ultimate duration. The extra damage that is based on the max HP is especially painful for high HP heroes. If you have 10,000 HP, the extra damage will deal 2,500 damage, minus the physical defense of course. So make sure to not get hit by that. Second skill. Hanzo flies to a targeted location, dealing damage in the area every 0.3 seconds and up to 8 times. If he's hitting no unit, it will be cancelled. This skill can trigger basic attack effects. So it will activate his first skill, but also trigger the effect from Demon Hunter Sword for example. Funny how a sword that is meant to hunt demons can be used by one. Many Hanzo mains will try to target a group of people and also units like minions to quickly trigger their first skill. So, after knowing all his skills, we will play a little game. Answer this question for yourself first. Which is Hanzo's biggest weakness? I'm going to mention 3 major weaknesses, so let's see if you guessed one of them. His skills are all about his ultimate. His first 2 skills mainly help him to farm, and his second skill to escape from any hero without dash. That's why the first weakness of him is, in his normal form he is completely useless. He will lose every 1v1 situation against any hero in the game, which makes him a perfect target to invade his jungle. You just need to use a hero that can invade him, like Natalia, Jawhead, Hylos, Grok or Fanny, and he can't farm anymore. After he took his first buff, he needs to wait a long time before he can eat another jungle creep. In this time you can hunt him non-stop and keep him away from any jungle creep, so he won't be able to activate his first skill. Burst heroes, especially mages, are also a great way to counter him. You just need to know when his blue buff is up, for example, camp in the bush for a few seconds, and boom! And as we all know, no matter which hero you play, if you're underfarmed, you're useless. His second weakness I already teased before. Hanzo is only strong against slow heroes. One reason so many Epical Glory players ban Hanzo is because they play immobile AF heroes like Layla or Hanabi. After turning into his demon form, he can easily destroy almost every hero with 0 escape skills, but loses out against any mobile hero or any hero that can stun or knock him back. All of his skills have a delay and are easy to predict, and there's also a short pause right after every skill. Just use your blink skill right before he uses his second skill and he has basically no chance to catch you anymore. Also, avoid being near the minion wave, because together with it he can easily activate his first skill. Now, although avoiding him is already good, killing him is of course better. This leads to his third weakness. Hanzo is too dependent on his team. Hanzo is one of the spoiled heroes that need extra protection. He needs at least one teammate to babysit him throughout the game. Even after putting his main body behind a turret, it doesn't guarantee his safety in the slightest, because the possibilities for flanks are high, especially in higher ranks. While using the ult, Hanzo will leave a black trail that leads to his main body, so you simply have to slide the screen around to find the end of the trail. If his teammates leave his main body alone without protection, agile heroes can easily walk to his body and destroy it. For example, Natalia, Benedetta, Fanny or Ling. All of them rotate very fast and will find the main body in no time. Hanzo won't be able to focus on the teamfight when his real body is always in danger. If he is too preoccupied by the battle, it's a guaranteed kill since the main body won't be able to fight back. There are even more weaknesses, like he can't initiate any team fight, he has no stun ability, or that you can just use a sustain hero and avoid his first skill. But I think mentioning this is enough for you to understand why you really don't need to ban him, and why you don't need to be scared of him. Unless you insist to keep playing those immobile heroes, but then nobody can help you. So, did I mention the weakness you thought about? If not, feel free to add another weakness in the comments. The more information we spread, the better. Next up, we have another notorious nightmare for epics, Aldous. Aldous used to be a B-tier pick before his revamp happened. His laning phase is sturdier, making him more independent as a laner. Collecting souls for his deck was also made easier. He's one of the most effective heroes to rank up from epic and below, because a lot of players in lower ranks have troubles to end the game. Aldous' brilliance shines in a losing condition. He becomes a candle in the dark that leads the doomed team to victory. All he needs to do is stack up his stacks while safely clearing the waves. After reaching 200 plus stacks, his punch starts to hurt even when you're using a full build tank. Now, let's take a look why he's so deadly in lower ranks. Passive. After 2 attacks, Aldous gains a shield for 3 seconds on his next basic attack. This effect has a 5-second cooldown. Very important info, since you need to know when his shield will be activated. Otherwise, you get easily surprised by this. First skill. Aldous' next basic attack will be enhanced for 5 seconds, which increases his damage. He gains stacks when eliminating enemies, and each stack is increasing the damage of this skill by 6. When a non-enemy hero dies nearby, he gains 2 extra stacks. So when he finishes off a creep with his enhanced basic attack, he gets 4 stacks in total. Quick math, if he have 100 stacks, the damage is increased by 600. If he have 500 stacks, it's increased by 3000. Since he can use the enhanced basic attack 2 times in a row, because the cooldown of his skill only lasts for 4 seconds, while the enhanced basic attack lasts for 5 seconds, this skill can be very painful. Every Aldous user will try to enhance one basic attack first and waits until the cooldown of his first skill is over, to give you 2 punches into your face. Second skill. Aldous gains 30% damage reduction and 20% movement speed, which lasts for 2 seconds or until he cancels the skill. When the duration ends or he cancels his skill, he deals damage to nearby enemies and stuns them. Ultimate. Aldous makes all enemies visible on the map for 5 seconds. He can use the skill again to dash towards the targeted enemy. On hit, he's dealing damage based on the enemy's max HP and knocks the victim back for 1 second. If he locks on an enemy, he interrupts the recall or arrival effect from the target. My god, the sentence is so difficult. Think again about one weakness from Aldous that comes into your mind, because now we will start to break them down. Firstly, as most of you already guessed, I think, Aldous is not the best hero in the early game. His damage starts to spike after he gained many stacks, which makes him an easy to bully target in the early game. Heroes like Thamus or Esmeralda can zone him out completely, so he won't be able to get any stacks. Thamus is a beast in the 1v1 situation, especially against an Aldous without stacks, while Esmeralda can easily eat up the shield from his passive when he is trying to farm his stacks. Trading a few punches is enough to make Aldous retreat and make him feel like a little dog without teeth. So an Aldog. Freeze the lane and shove as little minions as possible into his turret. There's no need to attack minions when he's hiding in his turret anyway. Just let them beat the crap out of each other and make sure to poke him once he comes out of his turret. Secondly, Aldous is very weak in a team fight. He is a single target hero with a very strong pickoff ability, so he can easily gank one detached enemy with his rocket smash. And especially in the late game, he can win most 1v1 matchups. But during a big 5v5 team fight, he's not much more than a meat shield. Aldous relies too much on his basic attack to deal damage, and it's really hard for him to get close without being CC'd by the enemies. The current meta is filled with so many teamfight orientated heroes that he often can't even get close to the enemies. With all the hard CC abilities against him, the risk for diving into the enemy's backline is higher than the uncertain reward. Thirdly, Aldous is a bad matchup against agile heroes. Even though he can instantly delete a squishy hero with his combo, his skill set doesn't provide him enough mobility to chase the running enemies, especially those with dash, invincible, hard CC or CC removal skills. Take for example 1-1.
Oh shit, here we go again.
She can jump around. Okay, you guys are probably sick of me talking about 1-1. I'll give you another example. Moskov. Aldous' ultimate has a big weakness in higher ranks. The trajectory and timing can be easily read by experienced players. Moskov can not only dash away to get a safe distance between the two, he can also bait the incoming Aldous and plant him against a wall. All he needs is Wind of Nature and Aldous is basically useless. It doesn't even need a godly reaction speed, since Wind of Nature lasts for 2 seconds. Enough time to recover from Aldous' rocket knockback and stun. Brody and Clint can be also used to counter this Epical Glory Nightmare. So, what was the weakness you thought about? If I didn't mention it, feel free to add it in the comments. Next we have the mobile fountain, Estes. He was one of the most broken meta heroes in Mobile Legends once. Until anti-heal items were introduced, teamfight healers were no longer meta, and the funneling strategy became a trend. It was one of the darkest times for the King of the Moon Elves. But he's been gaining more recognition as of late, after Blacklist International brought him back to the surface on the latest M3. People were shaken by his capabilities as a support. But again, before we get into his weaknesses, we have to understand his skill set first to counter him perfectly. Passive. Estes charges his energy slowly, and at 100 stacks, his next basic attack will be enhanced, dealing extra magic damage and slows the enemy in the area. So don't be surprised by a sudden slow. First skill. Estes restores HP of one targeted enemy immediately. He gains physical attack, magic power and movement speed, which scales with a number of linked heroes. When he's too far away from the target, it will break the link. Second skill. Estes drop a barrier in the area, dealing magic damage to enemies within it. Touching the barrier's domain will reduce the enemy's movement speed by 90%. So don't get caught on it, unless you have a blink skill to get out of it. Ultimate. Estes casts an enhanced moonlight immersion to all allied heroes nearby for 8 seconds, healing all the linked allies and himself continuously. The skill description didn't state it directly, but the cooldown of his first skill will be resetted. it. This heal is absolutely crazy, but there are many ways to counter it. You have to think of a weakness first though, and saying anti-heal doesn't count, that's too easy. Firstly, Estes is weak against heroes with strong CC effects. The amount of heal he could give in a teamfight doesn't matter if he can't even use his skills. Heroes with strong AoE CC effects like Atlas and 𝐃𝐬𝐬𝐽 can easily counter him in a teamfight. Once he got caught by a chain of CC effects, he is a sitting duck waiting to be bursted down. Another hero that can easily counter him is 𝐾𝐽𝐬. His heavy spin easily breaks Estes' formation and cut off the links between his allies, which makes his ultimate completely useless. There's also a high chance to be trapped against a wall when all of his teammates try to hack him. Secondly, Estes' gameplay is very straightforward. His skills has no element of surprise, and he can't initiate a teamfight. His utility is limited to healing and slow effects. With no skill to lock down his enemies, agile heroes like Benedetta and Lancelot can freely dive in and out without any problem. It is also not very hard to predict when he's going to use his ultimate. Once his allies are becoming low or initiate a teamfight, he will spam it out and you basically just have to retreat for the moment. As we know now, it goes on for 8 seconds, so you just have to wait until it's over. In close fights for the Lord this is problematic of course, so make sure to not end up in a situation where you have to contest the Lord. Thirdly, just burst the bitch down. Sorry for the swear word. Similar to his CC weakness, his healing ability won't help anyone if you just burst down your enemy. If the enemy's marksman just hangs around with him and you use a hero like Saber and target the marksman, he either has to react super fast to activate his ult, which means you are free to gank the enemies in the next half minute, or he just have to let him die. In the early game you can do the same to him, since he haven't built up his defensive items yet. Which brings us to fourth, Estes is a late bloomer. He did not only woke up too late when Aldous was taking his people to the abyss. Little lore education here, his true potential only shines in the late game when all heroes stick together and wait for one huge team fight. Strong early game heroes can deny him the opportunity to even reach this point, ending the match before it really started for him. And fifthly, anti-heal items. Like, duh. Lastly for today, we have to look at the lovely kidnapper, Yin. Even though he's not a meta pick right now, he's the 6th most banned hero overall. Why is that? Overall, it comes down to players who are picking unreliable heroes, who theoretically can dish out an insane amount of damage, but are super easy to counter. Looking at the 4 marksmen of doom. Well, actually we only have 3 or maybe even just 2.5 marksmen of doom left. Anyway, let's take a look at his skill set first. Passive. Yin deals 120% increased damage when there are no allied heroes nearby, which means 1v1s or fights in his domain increases damage. I know, pointing out the obvious, but still. First skill. His movement speed is increased by 60%, which decays over 3 seconds, and he gets an enhanced basic attack, which deals damage twice to the enemies, and reduces the skill cooldown by 35% when he hits an enemy with a second punch. Note that the second damage is pretty high, and has a huge scaling. In the late game it can hurt a lot getting hit by it. Second skill. Yin dashes forward leaving a riddle behind. He gains 25% damage reduction for 4 seconds if he hits an enemy. The ring will follow after 1 second, dealing damage and stun enemies in the path. Ultimate. After a short delay, he pulls an enemy inside his domain and turns into Lee for 8 seconds. Lee has stronger skills and gains extra physical and magic defense. The domain will end once any heroes inside of it is killed. If Lee kills the enemy, he recovers 20% of his max HP and leaves the domain early with his cooldowns resetted, and is able to continue fighting as Lee for another 8 seconds. If Yin fails to pull his target into his domain, the skill will have a 3 seconds cooldown. So yeah, you can actually dodge the skill with the right timing. Now, let's also quickly look at Lee's skills. First skill, Lee smashes the ground 10 times, dealing damage and slowing the enemies by 75% for 0.2 seconds. He's immune to CC effects in the state, and he's able to automatically lock on targets with his first 5 attacks. The last 5 cannot change the direction. Moving or casting other skills will cancel the effect. Second skill. The skill is pretty much the same as before, but Lee gains an extra knockback when charging, and the stun duration is a bit longer. Now, if you think about it for a moment, I'm sure you can tell me even more than one weakness. So let's begin with number 1, learning basic macro plays. What? Is this even considered a weakness of Yin? This hero is considered OP in lower ranks simply because many players ignore something crucial in Mobile Legends. The first common mistake most players make is not paying any attention to the minimap. It requires map awareness to avoid getting ambushed by Yin's ultimate. If you actually have to play a marksman that has a hard time escaping his attacks, you need to be extra careful around bushes and check the map non-stop to see where he is right now. If you saw him on the other side of the map, you are safe for him for about a minute. But the chance that he will come to your lane next is very high. So play it safe until you see him appearing somewhere else on the map. Secondly, any CC removal skills or spells. In order to successfully land all of his skills, he needs to stun the enemies first. Lee's burst damage is easy to avoid though when you just walk away from it. So he can be countered by 1/1 skill, Diggies and Valyr's ult, or you simply use Purify as your battle spell. Thirdly, the mobility in Lee's form sucks. Lee moves pretty slow inside of his domain. He can be easily countered by heroes with high mobility like Benedetta or Ling. And basically any hero that has a dash skill. Just dash away in the right moment and he becomes a sitting duck in his own domain. Even with a hero that is as mobile as a tree, with Flicker equipped, you can easily escape him before he stuns you. Fourthly, Yin is squishy AF. He can be a burst hero with high sustain after building Bloodlust Eggs, but his sustainability is very dependent on spell vamp. If he can't deal any damage, then he doesn't have any sustainability in a battle. So another burst hero like Saber can just easily kill him before he can even start using any skills. Fifthly, Yin is very weak before he unlocked his ultimate. Plus, he's very dependent on items. When he takes the XP lane role, pick a strong meta fighter to zone him out. He can't do anything in front of Thamus, Esmeralda or Paquito. And an underfarmed Yin won't have enough damage to kill even squishies. If he's taking the jungle role, harass his farming as much as possible. Strong roamers like Hylos can easily delay his farm in the first 5 minutes. He's like Alucard. Aggressive gameplay will ruin his snowball potential in the early game. And as long as he doesn't get fed, he's easy to deal with. Now, the Yin problem is solved and you can start to run the real OP heroes like Faramis or Valentina. Talking about OP heroes, check out the latest episode of the Solo Queue to Mythic with All Heroes series, where I play and dominate the enemies with one of the most reliable and OP heroes. See you over there!